there's been problems the U.S. Mint has disclosed publicly with sourcing silver blanks. Are these problems still bad, or are they getting worse? Or what do you think could be done maybe to fix these problems with the U.S. Mint, maybe so my listeners out there could potentially actually get silver eagles at lower premiums?
Well, the rumor is that Janet Yellen would have to allow the mint to pay a higher price for the blanks. So basically, the rumor is that they are only allowed to pay, the average asking price of what silver is trading at by buying these bars or whatnot, and then they're the 1,000-ounce bars, which are then turned into planchets by Sunshine Mining. Well, look, Sunshine Refinery, who provides the blanks to the U.S. Mint and a couple other sovereign mints, I think is just not wanting to sell the blanks at spot, and they can get a whole hell of a lot more elsewhere. And so, I don't buy it's just stupid, because the other mints have been, since 2020, since January, February 2020, the premiums have been north of $10 an ounce forever, have never come back down. And, the whole time, Krugerrands, I do believe Sunshine makes the blanks for the Rand Mint. Kangaroos, Britannias, Maples, they've all been way cheaper and way easier to get than the Eagles. But like I said, the demand for silver has been extraordinary, Jason, and represents 95% of all the business companies have been doing for the last 3 years. And I'm talking $500 million, $600 million, in sales in 2020, more in 2021, and more this year. And it represents 80, 90, 95% of all the sales everyone's doing. And for the U.S. Mint to come to us in June and say the second half of the year we're curtailing gold production by 50% was just ridiculous, because for the past 3 years it's represented but a tiny amount of the overall demand. So the question is it something deeper than that? Are they trying to mitigate a run on the dollar to make it difficult for Americans to get eagles? I don't know. Are they just completely inefficient? I don't know. But they're not limited to the same, you have to buy silver blanks from US-based resources as they are with gold. They can buy it wherever they want. So I don't know.
So the rules are for the silver blanks, they can only buy from certain American refiners, and so those are the rules, but you said the rules are different for their gold blanks?
I believe they can buy the gold wherever they want, and the silver, they're supposed to source it from American companies, and they buy it from Sunshine. And, the fact that they are saying they can't get the blanks, to me, is ridiculous. Because the demand, if they would just pump them out. Look, in 08, 09, I don't remember the years, but they were making 50 plus million eagles a year. And now they're making 14, 15 million this year. They're running at a third the capacity that they could.
I've unfortunately compared the U.S. Mint to the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's that inefficient. I mean, why close down for 2 full months? Why not hire workers and pay them some overtime bonuses, get government approval, go and sell those silver eagles at premiums? The government could actually make a nice profit, even if the premiums went down a little bit. I mean, the government would still have some nice profit selling more silver. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to close down your business for 2 months when there's demand for the product that the government is the mint is selling.
Of course not. Doesn't make sense at all. I completely agree. But most of the things that our government does these days makes no sense at all. And I could make the blanket statement that the U.S. has done more to destroy itself in the past few years than any external enemy could have ever done.
Oh, I agree. I live right outside of D.C. I completely agree. It's both political parties. Neither one wants to stop spending, actually.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're our own worst enemy. DC, the parasite that is the Washington, DC metro area, and both political parties and the bureaucracy here. No one's really talking about cutting spending.
The people in this country should be outraged. I mean, 1 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. I mean, the numbers are so big, we're screwed.
Well, we're headed, Andy, and we're headed next year. If the Fed keeps hiking interest rates, we're headed next year in 2023 towards 1 trillion per year in interest payments just on the debt. So that won't cover. That's more than the official annual defense budget. That's insane just for interest payments. 1 trillion per year.
It's beyond insane. It's beyond insane, and that's part of the problem. And I think, what happens if the dollar gets dumped and interest rates really spike? That's the Great Reset right there. And
well, I think, unfortunately, with the history of governments and central banks, it's more likely that the Fed will have to lower interest rates, and then they will have to monetize more government debt. The dollar is too strong right now. So at some point, the Fed's going to want to weaken the dollar. We're already seeing that there's a lot of evidence, Andy, that there's not demand anywhere near the demand for U.S. Treasuries that there was from foreigners. So foreign demand is really non-existent. So at some point, the Fed's going to have to come in, and they're going to be the buyer of last resort of U.S. Treasuries.
But the end result is the same thing. The end result is, if you go down that path, then that's monetization of the bond market, which is Weimar Republic Germany, which leads to hyperinflation and skyrocketing interest rates. You can't be the buyer of last resort in a globalized world. You lose. This is why I think you're seeing the countries rally. Part of the reason you're seeing them rally the way that they are into a commodity-backed currency that the BRICS announced will challenge for world reserve. If no one is buying our bonds, and the only way you keep interest rates low is by creating money, printing it, to buy the bonds to lower money, you create hyperinflation, which raises rates in and of itself. And you can lie about the metrics by which you are calculating inflation, as every nation wants to do. It's their vested interest to print as much paper as they can and keep rates low by lying about the numbers, the way we do. But at some point, the world says, F off. I'm not taking your dollars. I ain't buying your treasuries. I don't want any of your crap. Pay me in gold. Pay me in the new digital yuan, or we're in the new BRICS currency. I don't want it. And that's when the rubber meets the road. So yeah, they can pivot. You can see that in the inverted yield curve. The smart money thinks that's what's going to happen. I get it. But then they lose all credibility, and you have chosen hyperinflation over austerity, over the tough decisions, the way all politicians have forever. But that's why we're getting very close to the end game. And that's why you own metals, not to get wealthy, but because it is wealth. Jason, that's outlived 2 world wars, German hyperinflation, and the Great Depression, and every pandemic. And this is the time more than ever to own it. And I think that's why you're seeing so much of it leave and be accumulated, even though price wouldn't dictate it. And quite to the contrary, price has been being used to allow the smart money to accumulate it and take possession of it while no one notices.
Yeah, it looks like LBMA, COMEX, GLD, SLV, all these things are being drained, and the metals being sold by the bullion banks or whatever entity into other countries for higher premiums, that this scheme is only increasing lately.
That's exactly right. And you're using misdirection. Look, if you're going to try to do something, you're playing any game, anywhere you have an opponent, you want to fool them and misdirect them, point them in the wrong direction. And that's exactly what is happening on a very large scale here. And don't know who exactly it is pulling the strings, but it's very obvious to me that the price is detached from the demand and the desire to take possession and remove counterparty risk, and it from the very highest levels on down. That, to me, is far more illuminating than the refineries, the government mints, and the retail market becoming very, very, very sparse with product.